afternoon, everybody. Please be seated. Right, can I remind members to switch off their mobile phones? Councillor Harvey has also altered their motion, agenda item 9B, and in accordance with council procedures, I've given consent for this to take place. A copy of the altered motion can be found in the chamber. The first agenda item on the council summons is to receive disclosure by members of interest in matters under consideration. Will members claiming interest please identify themselves and their particular interest clearly and complete the usual yellow form before the end of the meeting. Are there any disclosable pecuniary interests to be declared? So are there any other significant issues, interests to be declared? Yes?
Yes, Mr. Item 9B, motion by Councillor Stark.
Okay. Are there any other interests to be declared? Councillor Hunt?
Motion number 2 on the police. My son's in force.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Councillor
And
Simon.
same as Richard.
Right, okay. Right, so I'll say thank you now. Right, agenda item 2 is to receive and confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 1st of January and budget council on the 1st of March. Are these minutes moved?
Move the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Are the minutes seconded?
Second the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
All in favour? Right, that is carried. The next item on the agenda is to receive apologies for absence. In the advance of the meeting, apologies have been received from Councillors Collins, Glover, Johnson, Massey, Owen and Stockhill. I've also been informed that Councillors Graham, Councillor Pat and Owen Darwood, Councillor Kitchen and Councillor Maston need to leave the meeting early.
Councillor Burns.
Councillor Baines. Right, thank you.
Councillor Baker.
Okay. Agenda item 4. Councillor Sharp, did you indicate?
Get Councillor Bates.
Right. Yeah, got Councillor Baines, thank you. Right, agenda item is to deal with such announcements I may decide to lay before council. Since our last meeting, I've had the honour of supporting the Lord Lieutenant for West Yorkshire as we continue to support the Majesty of the late Queen Elizabeth's Green Canopy Initiative for the planting of a rowan tree at Wakefield Hospice. And last week we raised the Commonwealth Flag for Peace from Wakefield Town Hall for the group of visiting school children. It's always a pleasure to award our Mayor Says Thanks certificates to worthy causes, namely Superstar for Pickers and our communities in the Open Country project at Thorns Park. The opening of a new business in the district is also uplifting the celebratory event for young carers from across Wakefield district, attended by families, children and teachers, showcase the outstanding work delivered by our children's services team. And I do have to add, that was an amazing event at Wakefield Community last Wednesday night with all these children who are carers for their families, and that it was just truly moving and amazing, the capacity for what young people can achieve. And again, it's a testament to the camaraderie. I think there was a banner at the top, and I alluded to it in my speech, which we are so proud of you. And that is, you can't say any more than that. It was a great event. I think also, can I add, the Mayor's Charity Fashion Show, which is taking place on the 6th of April at King's Croft. Tickets please, obviously for our 2 causes, so any more tickets please. Don't be afraid to give us your money. And I say this morning I attended a careers convention at St Wilfrid's High School in North Featherstone, and again it was a great event and shows how many companies are now really coming online with trying to attract young people into new careers, and that, in particular pushing for apprenticeships. So finally, colleagues, you'll see that you've been provided with a questionnaire relating to your learning and development. It would be appreciated if you could complete the form and drop it into one of the 2 boxes on your way out, please. Further copies can be found at the front of the chamber if you haven't received your copy. Thank you, colleagues, and that concludes my announcements. As no deputations have been received for today's meeting, we will now move to agenda item 6, which is the Leader's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. very conscious that it's the last council meeting for a number of people, so I would like to talk about that in a minute. But I know this is your last official council meeting. Obviously, we should see you at the AGM, but this is the last council meeting, and I have to say you've been a marvellous chairing of the council. It's not been difficult for certain people. It's not always easy. I think Tom knows what I mean. But you've risen to the occasion. And I'm sorry to hear about your accident that you had this weekend. You've had a rough time, but it just shows your dedication to duty that you've arrived today. So I will be paying tribute to you at the moment. A number of other councillors are standing down. Pat Albert, who's been amazing over the years back, and we wish you all the best in whatever you do next. I'm sure it will be something. I can't imagine you not doing anything. And Dave, what can I say? You've caused us some issues as well, but you have been a marvellous councillor for your area, and the way you've been in cabinet, you've contributed to the group, and there'll be other things to come for you. But we do wish you all the best. It's your last council meeting. And then Tom, it's your last meeting. But I would like to say, we all wish you all the very best and success in Harrogate and Nesbitt. I know that you'll be a fantastic MP for that area. I know the election isn't declared yet, but it's looking on top that you will succeed there, and we do wish you all the best. You've given us some headaches over the years, but you have stood up for Nottingham, and that's what's important. When you're a local councillor, you have to look after your area, and you've certainly done that. But again, we wish you all the very best for the future. And then the other couple of things I'd like to raise is some of us were at the Loft House 50 years for the Loft House pit disaster at the weekend, and it was a very moving situation. The church service and then the memorial hall, and it was attended by hundreds of people, and it just shows that they've never been forgotten, the 7 men who died there. Terrible tragedy that needn't have happened. When it was looked into and there was a public inquiry, it was found that it was human error, and if people had read the legislation that they had, it wouldn't have happened. So that's really heartbreaking for the families. And I have to say that the daughter of one of the men read out her experiences of the morning when the police came to the door to say that her father had been killed. I don't know how she got through them and how she told us about them, but it was absolutely amazing. And I think those of us who were there were very moved by the situation. Just a couple of other things. We've had a letter from the Government Minister for Levelling Up, and I was going to criticise the Tory budget, but some of it might not be too bad for us, so I won't say too much about that. We've had a letter. We have been chosen to be a Levelling Up partner. Now, we're not sure quite about the details, but I think we're going to be visited by civil servants from the Minister's office to tell us what it will mean. Whether it's just for Wakefield itself or whether it's across the district. I'd like it to be across the district because I think we need to share regeneration out across the district. But we'll see what they have to say. But we have been the only council chosen in West Yorkshire. There's only one in South Yorkshire, which is Doncaster. And it's not just because they see us as a deprived area. They see us as the fact that we're a success and we can spend money when we are given government money. In the other part of the letter, there was talking about the investment zone, and West Yorkshire, Tracy Graven and the Mayor's Office have been offered money for that, so hopefully we can benefit from that. And then the Local Enterprise Partnership, which was set up years ago in place of Yorkshire Forward, Over the years, it has been a success, but I think the government are coming away from that. And what it says in the letter is that they want to work with local leaders to have control of their own destiny, which is something we've wanted for a long time. So I think that's good news. And then the final bit in the letter, and I won't hold my breath on this, is that business rates may be awarded back to council, so we might get some money that way. So I think that again is really good. It's really good news. I mean, what we really need from the government, as I mentioned in my budget speech, is we want fair funding for all the government, and it should be written in the law that we get fair funding. So I'll leave that there, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jeffrey. Right, obviously, can I remind members that there should be questions to Councillor Jeffrey as leader of the council, and that matters only arise on her report. Are there any questions? Councillor Haynes.
May I just reiterate the best wishes to people that are actually leaving the council, and to yourself, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the service you've given during this year in your position as chair. I'm very pleased to hear Councillor Jeffrey's comments about levelling up. Obviously, all the badgering she's given to the government, like in her last budget speech, seems to have had an effect. I'm very pleased that we'll finally come to the attention of central government. The first inclination we got was when we received funding for the rebuilding of Carlton High School, completely paid for by the DFE and no burden to the taxpayer. So let's hope that this continues and we can have this good relationship with central government and get what the people of this area deserve. Thank you.
Councillor Keith, yes, Councillor Keith.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to reiterate what the leader said about the 50th anniversary of the Lockhouse mining disaster. On Saturday there was the commemorations at Outlook. Sunday there were commemorations at Outlook. We mustn't forget that yesterday we had also a commemoration on the day. And we talked to Tommy Banks, who was present down that mine on that morning, and said goodbye to the lads going down a different trip to Turin, and as they got to what they call a paddy, and said that they'd see him the morning after. And he told me, because we stood there on Sunday in the sunshine, that it was a very similar spring day there. And so we said that we were both the lucky ones because we've seen 50 springs turn to summers. Then gentlemen didn't, and I would like to propose we have a minute silence in memory of those 7 miners who died about 50 years ago.
Yeah, I agree with that. 1 minute silence, please. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. So are there any other comments or questions, Council? Jeffrey? Okay. Agenda item 7 is to consider the Cabinet Members' report. Cabinet Members have up to 5 minutes to present their reports and there are 15 minutes allocated to enable each Cabinet Member to respond to any questions or brief comments on matters within their portfolio. First report is to Councillor Jeffrey, leader and portfolio of Region, Economic Growth and Property. These are the report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a couple of things to point out in the report. The Cabinet yesterday went to visit down to Talyard so we could see for ourselves the fantastic investment and regeneration that's going on there. Obviously, CMT came with us as well. And how impressive it was. There were people having meals there, the function rooms were wonderful, the recording studios were already busy, famous people in there, those of you know. Chad Bunny, as I say, I've not heard of him, but that seemed to be a big thing that he was running the recording studios. And it really was. I think we were all very, very impressed with the investment that's going into Wakefield. On the Towns Fund, I took a paper to Cabinet yesterday about the money for Wakefield and for Castleford. So again, we're moving forward on that. These things take a long time. And unfortunately, in Castleford, we've had the blow that Max and Spencer is closing. So we're having to take a bit of a pause there to see what we can do to mitigate that. But the government funding is there and it has to be spent and it's been welcomed. So Wakefield have got massive investment, but so for Castleford. But what I'd like to see is it going across the district. The other paper I took to Cabinet yesterday was the Equans energy contract that is coming to an end, and we've decided to bring it all back in-house. And we've set up an officer with people from outside coming in to help us, an office group, members support, Richard Foster and Leo are going to be lead members on it, and we should be bringing papers back to Cabinet all through the summer. It has to be dealt with by October. I'm very confident that we can bring it back in-house and really do a good job looking after the staff and doing a better service for the council. We've had a good partnership with them, but there have been teething problems, and I think it's time now to bring it back in-house. When we took it out to the private sector, that seemed to be the thing to do in those days. But quite honestly, a lot of us here don't think it was, and we feel it would be much better run by the council. And then a final other thing, there's been a lot of antisocial behaviour, break-ins in the town centre in Wakefield and in Castleford and in Normanton. But we've had meetings with the MPs, the police, businesses, and action plans have been set up now for all our towns, and we will hopefully see more policing in our towns. We put enforcement officers in who are actually making a difference and giving confidence to people in the town. We haven't seen much of the police, but I'm assured that we will be seeing more of them. We know the stretch, we know all that, but we can't go on not having police in our towns. So I'll end my report there on the question.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffrey. Are there any questions or brief comments on her report? Councillor Hollywood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wondered if the leader could tell us what issues inflationary pressures are causing with the town fund projects.
Pressures?
Yeah, it's inflationary. I mean, obviously there's a lot of inflation since things were planned. Is this having any effect on the ability to complete the projects?
Not in Wakefield. We feel that things can manage okay there. I mean, obviously things are costing a lot more than we expected, and we've had to cater for that. We had an inflationary budget of 20% extra, and we've had to go slightly over that to purchase the buildings that we want to do. In Castleford, again, the buildings are costing more, and that's why we're taking a short pause to see what we need to do. But we have to spend the government money within the time scale.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, thank you. Right, the next report is from Councillor Hemingway, Deputy Leader and Portfolio Holder for Climate Change and Environment. Councillor Hemingway, could you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I also pay tribute to the commemorative events for the 50th anniversary of the Wakefield School disaster with myself, Matthew, and Councillor Masterman's ward. It was a very moving commemoration organised by the Mining Heritage Group. We must never forget the 7 men that lost their lives and paid the price of coal. I also want to thank and pay tribute to members, yourself included, who have served this council for many years in dedicated fashion and will be leading the chamber. I remember a number of years ago serving this council as deputy and helped introduce me in many of the ways the council was from, so thank you today, particularly to all members who are moving on for their contribution. Moving on to my report, page 25 and 26, we had the Partnership for Net Zero Summit weeks ago now. It was a real success. Over 100 businesses, community groups and others came together to look at some good practice, some workshops, how we can work collaboratively as a district, not just the local authority but businesses too, in bringing ourselves towards net zero by 2038 as a district. There's some really positive steps there, and it's going to be the first of many summits to come. I want to end my report by paying tribute to one of our most dedicated volunteers as well, Roger Parkinson. For those of you that know Roger, he's been a tree warden and woodland trust champion for many years working in this district, and he's planted many trees. He's been to schools to educate children on the benefits of nature, and he's hanging with his spade on the 30th of March from the tree warden. So I just want to say a big thank you to Roger. I know he's previously received a Mayor's thank you award, but I think it is proper that we recognise his tremendous efforts on behalf of this district and the environment. So with that, I'm with my report.
Thank you, Councillor Henry. Are there any questions or brief comments on the report? Councillor Fishwick.
Thank you very much, Jack. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'd just like to ask the Cabinet portfolio what plans are in place to expand the existing provision of the hydroelectricity power generating facility down at Kirkthorpe. We know that the existing power position at Kirkthorpe here on the River Calder has 500 watt capacity, generating 2.3 million units of energy per year, enough to power 800 homes. Now in 2019, the site was furnished with a 1,200 kilowatt lithium battery, which enables all unused surplus energy to be stored in the battery and then released back into the grid. Over the last 3 months, myself and Councillor Farmer have visited Aubrey Bridge, which we identified as a possible location, and that of Chantry Bridge as well in the centre. And what my vision there was that we will be the first city to create 3 of these hydroelectricity generating facilities, obviously coming into the district, in the centre of the district, and obviously going out from the back up to the Castle district. What plans have we got in place to go forward with that, do you think?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have looked at hydro as one potential green energy solution. It should be part of the mix. It isn't perhaps as efficient and cost effective as solar, which is why we decided to embark on a large solar farm projects in the first instance. Kirkthorpe project to mention is a private endeavour, and we're very happy to encourage and support private initiatives if they want to invest in hydro where sites are suitable. We have recently had discussions, council officers over at Castleton, regarding the mill site and the weir in that area, whether that would be suitable for hydro, and previously with the Hepworth as well. It's not always as simple as it might seem, hydro. You might think any weir or source of turbulent water would be good for it, but it's not always that straightforward. So we have explored hydro in the past, but I'm very happy to look at any sites you might be able to suggest, as you just mentioned, down at Aubrey, and see if those would be suitable with officers.
Yeah, I was looking at going down the private investment road as well to back it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bishop. Councillor Farmer.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just pass on my thanks to all the residents and groups in also that attended the planting of the woods. Myself and the 2 colleagues, ward colleagues, attended the planting. It's fantastic to see so many people, especially on the Saturday. I can't believe the number of people that turned out, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So credit to the people that sorted it out, and massive thanks from, I'm sure, from, I can echo the thoughts of my fellow ward colleagues, and massive thanks to all the people that attended. Thank you, and also the officers.
Thank you. Are there any further comments or questions? Right, thank you. Next is the portfolio of the children and young people. Councillor Isherwood, would you please introduce your report to Council?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In introducing my report, could I just mention the asthma-friendly schools, and I would urge anyone who is a governor in the chamber, if you could check if your school is signed up to the asthma-friendly initiative, and if not, please do, because it is very important. It makes a great deal of difference to young people who have got asthma if they know they're being able to be cared for at school. We've also got the Happy Healthy Holiday update, which is going from strength to strength. It really is amazing what work is being done there out in the community to help our young people and their families. And finally, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for the support you've given me over the years since I've taken on this role as the chair of scrutiny. Your role was integral in getting us through the improvement journey, and I thank you very much.
I think we worked as a team, Councillor Isherwood. I don't see strange in there saying that, but yeah, it was a team effort right away across the board with officers and that. So yes, it worked. It's been a good journey. Any questions or brief comments? Okay. Right, we move on to portfolio holder for communities, poverty and health. Councillor Cummings, would you please introduce the report?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things to add to my report. We've just heard that we now got the Housing Support Fund Round 4. There will be a Cabinet report around that. This is where we're helping families who are on council tax credits with food and energy bills. There will be a Cabinet report next month and full details will be in that. Just to say to agenda page 45, the ABBA project, we've received some good news there as well, that we've received some further funding to continue that vital project in helping those people with addiction problems. And just to say, on the back of what the leader said about the town centre, we did at Cabinet yesterday have a public space protection order agreed, which agrees that the order for the city centre, certainly in Wakefield, is now extended into some of the areas that were suffering some antisocial behaviour and down as far as the Heckworth. And it does give the police additional powers to arrest people, to take alcohol off people, on street drinking and all those types of things. All we need now is for the police to step up to the plate and actually act on that. And I too want to finally say, wish you, Mr. Mayor, all the best in what you do in the future. I'm sure you'll find something to continue to do. And to all those members that won't be with us next year, I wish you well in all that you do, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cummings. Any questions or comments? Right, fine. The next report is the portfolio of culture, leisure and sports. Councillor Graham, your turn.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm a bit muddy because nobody seems to be asking any questions today, and maybe you've got a hot save them for me, maybe, I don't know. First off, I was going to wish everyone Ramadan Mubarak, and I'm sort of wondering, is it today, is it tomorrow? It's tomorrow, so Ramadan Mubarak to everyone who celebrates the holy month, starting tomorrow right across the district. I hope it's a great month for everyone who does that. Within the report, first of all, I want to pick up on the Rhubarb Festival. Obviously, that was last month. It was an absolutely fantastic festival. It always is. The city was absolutely bursting with people. And what was really great was we had our visitors coming from all over the country. Lots of businesses told us that it was the busiest day they have in the calendar in the entire year. So, great footfall there for everyone. Really welcome news from the government that they are going to be providing some support for our pools, so £63 million announced. As everyone will know in the Chamber, I raised this a few months ago. We wrote to ministers as a council asking them to reconsider supporting us with energy, because as you know, our prices have gone from £500,000 a year to 1.9 million a year. We're not very clear on how the 63 million will be divvied up, and if you imagine there's about 300 councils in the country, it won't go massively far. But it is nice to see that something that we raise here in this chamber about government policy, they have listened to and they have done something about. So, small brownie points for that. Also, to do with the rules, we've got our leisure pricing policy, the new inclusive one. So I just want to share this because this is a really great piece of social policy. We realise that we do have to increase leisure prices because of those energy bills to keep them going. So our membership has gone up by a very small amount, £2 a month. But what we are doing is putting in place lots of different concessions to allow young people to go swimming, to allow everyone to have a membership who are on the lowest income in our district. And I'd just like to give a big thank you to Councillor Farrar, because it was here that came to me with a piece of casework and asked us to look at that provision and what we've got in place for those who can't afford our leisure centres. So it's thanks to her for driving that policy and giving the idea, so big thank you. Finally, we have released this week our swimming charter, so myself and Councillor Isherwood were down at Minster to meet with some really lovely school children. The swimming charter, we're asking every primary school in the district to get involved and to take swimming seriously. It's obviously a legal requirement for schools to deliver swimming lessons within their provision, but as we know, not every single child in this district can swim, and that stays with you through adulthood. Very, very sadly, we've had some really tragic incidents that include the loss of life throughout the district in recent years. And I don't want to be standing here in a few months' time and saying how sad it is. We need to be doing stuff now, we need to be putting stuff in place now. So this is been months in the making, but there's a support package now there for schools where council officers will be going into schools, talking about water safety, telling these young people what they have to do in an emergency if anything goes wrong. And of course, being able to swim doesn't always save your life, unfortunately, but it really increases the chances of surviving if something goes wrong. So putting support in there, boosting those classes with primary schools who need it, and any child who can't swim before the 12, putting more teachers there with those classes and more things in place to support schools to get that achievement of 100% of students being able to swim in this district. With that, Mayor, that was a lot. I'll take any questions, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ray. Are there questions or brief comments? Councillor Haynes.
Councillor Graham, I think I brought this up before. The 3G pitch at South Kirby, Frickley, 1.3 million, I think, and the intention was to provide facilities for the community. And I think we've awarded another 176,000 for lighting recently. I'm not sure about that. I'm very surprised that people in our area are being bombarded with advertisements from Harrogate Town Football Club, combining with a private school in Ackworth, running paid for academy training for boys on this 3G pitch. Was that the intention when we actually awarded this money to be spent in that community?
The intention when building this 3G pitch was to make sure that we have provision down in the southeast where members of the whole community from across the district can be using this pitch and get involved, getting active, etc. The work the town council have done down there and how they run it, it's all controlled by Football Foundation. They put in place things, and there was specific targets around attracting young girls particularly into the sport and disabled people also to get involved. As far as I'm aware, everyone down there is taking part, the pricing's right, everything's going great, and it's a fantastic asset for the whole area. I don't see any problems at all.
Councillor Tully.
Yeah, I thought I'd cleared this up last time Councillor Haynes raised this, and I thought it quite clear. There is nobody in my part of the world losing out on this 3G facility. The Harrogate Town setup is done through Apple School and through consultation with our sports managers, and it is work that is done over and above what we do in our community. Teams from Barnsley come across and train over and above outside. There is not a team, not a child, not anyone denied access to the pitch. And I can tell you now, since we've been open over the school holidays in February, over 1,000 children were using this facility on a daily basis on a pay and play system. So what I would suggest is stop the mischief making, stop the mischief making. This pitch is a community pitch which serves the south east. The fact that Harrogate Town are involved, for the first time in my lifetime, Harrogate Town UAFB coaches are across in my part of the world coaching our kids. and I welcome that. I wish they come from Barcelona, and I wish they come from Real Madrid as well.
Thank you.
So, I just don't want to make that point quietly. And while I'm on it, I want to talk, and I've just raised a question, if you don't mind, about the issue, a question directly to the Cabinet about, I do welcome the money back. Or the bit of money we've got. I don't know what the maths are, I'm not very good at maths. 63 billion over, £200,000, I don't know what it is. But I'm a bit of a cynic at times as well, and I also think that that money might not be right, because somebody raised the fact that somebody will be paying, albeit with their own money to have their grid upgraded at home, to have their private swimming pool warm somewhere in North Yorkshire, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Any comments, Councillor Gray?
No.
We haven't been caught short, I'm disappointed. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, I want to go back to the swimming, if I could. I'm not surprised. I totally agree and I support what you're saying. Myself, by the time I was 11, not only could I swim, I had my advanced lifesavers badge and I was taking part in school competitions. I've got 5 grandchildren. My oldest child is coming up to 12. None of them can swim. None of them. So I support this, but I have to ask, in view of the fact that all the swimming pools are getting closed down, it's all right saying to the schools, you to provide swimming lessons. Where are they supposed to go? How are they going to teach the kids to swim if we don't have any swimming pools? So what's the practicality of how is it going to work?
Yeah, and what I'll say to that is that across the district, obviously we've got our own facilities, our own swimming pools, but there are also actually school swimming pools, private swimming pools. There's not a single school in this district who currently has a problem accessing pool time or delivering lessons as part of their curriculum. Every single school in the district is sorted in that respect. But, I mean, that example you just given 5 grandchildren, no one can swim, it just goes to show, doesn't it, how much of a work we've got to do. We've got that target of having every single child in the district learning before as well. I think it's achievable, I really do, with the pool space we've got, with the access we've got. Like I say, in the past we've done other things to achieve this. We've doubled the number of instructors we've got. We need to put this in place, we need to get it sorted, and we need to have it, everyone ready, because we won't be sitting here and feel like we could have done more in any of those situations in the future. So thank you for raising that point, and I hope that answers.
Thank you. Councillor Fishwick.
Just on a positive note, I've got 4 young lads aged 9 years of age from my ward competing on Saturday the 25th of March. I'm just going to read it out to you. I've got Lachlan Ruddock, I've got Ethan Ford, I've got Oliver Smith and Harry Beck, who are all aged 9 years of age. They run for Wakefield areas and attend Wakefield schools, but they've been selected to run for West Yorkshire Combined Schools and compete down at Loughborough this Saturday, which is a fantastic news. Ethan Ford, I'll let you know, he's currently ranked 1st in the country, not only in running, but in field events as well, and has broken club records and records throughout the country, not only for his age, but for 2 years above his age. He's a very special talent, so we should be very proud as a council chamber, and I am commending him for their success this weekend. Thank you.
I'd just like to say thanks to the council district. I went down and visited the Hannies and met some of these young children, and we've got so much talent, like you say, right across the district, all use that facility. And I think all of those young people are going to really benefit from our brand new athletic track that we're getting built in September. 1.2 million, new sound, new lighting, brand new, state-of-the-art track. It's going to be fantastic, and it's going to help us to create, and develop those talents of the future. So thank you for your comment.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
I think Councillor Ayub.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to the announcement made about government funding and the cost of grief crisis, not only affecting families but also affecting facilities. Our gas and electric bills were budgeted at 40,000 a year. They're now budgeted at 120,000. That's created a deficit of 80,000. I thought some of this government funding would be extended to community-run leisure facilities as well.
Councillor Farmer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just, it's fantastic to hear so many young people in the district doing well and all the facilities that come in. So I'd hate to see or hear that Ossett being left behind. Can you just give an update on the 3G pitch at Ossett Cricket Club Rugby? And also, I highlighted probably 2 or 3 council meetings ago about the possibility after the Rugby League World Cup final women's that the facilities in Ossett weren't acceptable and up to standard for young girls in my ward, and I was hoping that you were going to look at match funding for Ossett Rugby Club, maybe improving the facilities. Could you just give an update on where you are with that, seeing as I know it's all in the portfolio thing, but I'd just like an update on it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Farmer. So the 3G pitches, as you know, we tipped up them to cabinet. We have a portfolio in place, which means Football Foundation, I think we're putting in just under £1 million, and they're matching it with over £4 million. So it's an extremely, good deal that we've got going on here. And it will be delivering 4 3G pitches in the west of the district, which is the bit that needs the most at the minute. If you look at the map and the position of each of the 3G pitches. In terms of the one specific on each project, I don't have any updates available. They're also going through planning, through feasibility studies, everything like that. So we'll bring an update when I can. On the changing rooms, it is something that we need to think about for the whole district. We need to know exactly what changing rooms we've got at each of our clubs, and we need to make sure that we have things in place to make sure women especially can get involved, because I think there's been a massive increase in those amounts of girls and women wanting to play football and other sports, given the success of our national teams. And I believe that's a piece of work that's already ongoing as well, looking at what we've got and then looking, planning for the future basically, so that we're not caught out. So on with it, and yeah, I'll show great updates in the future.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? No, I think you did speak too quickly, didn't you, Councillor Gray? Right, next portfolio holder is for planning and highways. Councillor Morley, would you please introduce your report to council?
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, you can't believe how wonderful the weather is today. A couple of weeks ago, we had the gritters out, we had the snow all over the place. It wasn't a pretty sight, to be quite true, but I just want to pay tribute and thanks to all the council staff right across the section, from the gritting teams to the people emptying the bins, to our carers, to everybody, and especially the call centre. We all often overlook them. They're the front line of our services when people are complaining and getting in touch. So, massive thank you to all of them, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I was really pleased last week for the Chancellor in his budget statement to announce an extra £200 million for potholes across this country. Brilliant. By this government, it's always just a one-off. You announce it now and again. There's no funding there, consistency for highways and for the potholes. When you look at £200 million, it breaks down to just over £6 million for West Yorkshire, to which we'll receive somewhere like £1 million in Wakefield, which is brilliant. We're always pleased to see extra funding. But when you look at the increasing price of tarmac, bitumen, and all the other things we use, it's basically standing still. In fact, it's going even worse, because we won't come through till next year. I've said time and time again, we need sustainable funding stream for highways. We need to improve them, we need it. And this wonderful government's let us down time and time again. One final note, Mr Mayor, to yourself, thank you so much for how you've conducted yourself in this chamber, but also the work from your ward. You've been absolutely phenomenal on Pontefract South, and you know you've made an impact when people start tagging you in community Facebook pages all over the place, blaming you for everything, from the state of the roads to the ice cream man going round to late tonight. So thank you for all you've done, Mr Mayor. To Pat as well, you've all done. My first bit of campaigning in the Labour Party in 2001 was for yourself, when you stood the by-election in Pontefract South, and we won that. You lost it a year later, you got back again. Thank you so much, Pat and Dave, or what can I say. We've also been intertwined with me for years. We stood both ourselves for the first time in District Council, over in Wakefield Rural after 2004, the all-out from Nancy Johnson. We all eventually got to the council. I was a deputy highways and succeeded you. 6-7 years ago now, since we've been alongside, but you've definitely helped you to account when we've liked thank you for your work on you. With that, let's move my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be very happy when that pothole in Mill Lane is
Not promising else.
it's a very deep one. Councillor Byford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Boyd, for your report. Can I just say thank you to Paul Green Property for the resilience works that we made reference to? And that is greatly received here beyond there. I just wish that our partner organisations, and I think we all know we're referring to, would be working with this same speed with us so that we can get this carried out, because there are still big gaps with the infrastructure out there, which are not our responsibility, but we're putting pressure on them. Just to pick up something that was said earlier, personally, I prefer flood defensive down there to hydro stations, because I think that that's more appealing to people already down there with the fault and that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Shaw.
Yeah, hi, thanks for your report for you. Just two questions really. I just want to know, just for my own information and the public's, what is biodiversity net gain? And second of all, when we negotiate contracts with suppliers in terms of New Park roundabout that's going £1 million over budget, is it normal to pay private companies even though they don't do any work? Is that normally how the council negotiates contracts? Thank you.
I'm not sure what you mean, Councillor Sharp, by not doing any work. The additional funding for Newton Bar, as I explained to the Cabinet, the additional funding, Newton Bar, the funding came in place in 2018. I don't think any of us foreseen what the cost of living price and the escalated price of all materials were going to be a few years later. I mean, we're all seeing it in his own bills with gas, electric, anything you buy, any quotes you want for any work doing now, we're only there for a few weeks. People can't guarantee the prices, so the additional funding, basically, because of how the prices gone, it has been met. We have our support for the Combined Authority with the old internal capital scheme. But it's happening all over the country. Governments are now for HS2. The West Yorkshire Combined Authority are pausing or slowing down a number of schemes. So that's where we are with it. On biodiversity net gain, myself and Jack are working on this. Basically, it's about what you can put into housing developments. And if you can't put anything in a particular housing development, you look to elsewhere in the district. It's a fantastic piece of work. So yeah, that's basically where we are. I'd like some questions.
Thank you. Councillor Daggett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I first of all thank Matthew for his kind words and other members as well for their kind words. But on a more serious note, I do have a question for the Cabinet member on behalf of my constituents. There's a great deal of public concern at the moment from the local community in relation to road safety, owing two fatal accidents in the last 12 months on Wakefield Road in North, when cyclists have been knocked off their bikes and killed. Just one fatality is one fatality too many. With clear evidence of collision history on this stretch of Wakefield Road, what action will the council be taking to ensure fixed speed cameras are put in place to reduce collision rates and increase road safety on this high-risk road? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Morley.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, for that question. I know it's something like campaign on you all colleagues. It's terrible. We shouldn't see any accidents on our district roads. As a West Wales Authority, we're still awaiting the police report to what happened with the accident. We will be working with the West Yorkshire Safety Partnership. We will be working with the police and ourselves to make any necessary improvements onto that road and ensure that.
Thank you. Fine. Right, the final Cabinet report is that of the portfolio of the resources in the absence of Councillor Collins. Councillor Nichols, can you please introduce the report to Council?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are you aware that Councillor Collins has given her apologies for this meeting? Moving this report, I would just like to highlight the brilliant work that is ongoing within the authority around menopause. February marks the start of the assessment journey for the Council to become a menopause-friendly employer. Committing to being menopause-friendly means we're working towards long-term sustainable change in our workplace, fostering an inclusive culture where everyone can be at their best. The scheme is a recognised accreditation and, if awarded, will mean we've satisfied the highly qualified independent panel of judges that our organisation is offering the right support. The assessment period will run through to August of this year, and we look forward to updating Council further on the progress. Thank you, and I move this report on behalf of Councillor Michelle Collins.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Sharp.
Hi, thanks for that, Debbie. With regards to financial help, energy costs, council tax, energy bill support scheme, can I get a guarantee or an assurance that people will be able to access this rather than filling out other forms, taking 30 days to get back to somebody, making a decision, then not making a decision? It's quite hard to access funding from the council as it is at the moment. So if you're going to put these schemes in place, please can you make sure that it is easily accessible to the residents? Thank you.
Councillor Collins.
Yeah, maybe I can help my colleague out here. Yeah, anybody that is suffering energy from during the cost of living crisis as a whole, not just energy, can ring the welfare. There's no forms to fill in. They ring the welfare department of the council. There's an assessment done over the phone. It's almost instant. I know sometimes the contact centre is difficult, but it is no cost. So there's no cost incurred to actually ring. But I would urge anybody that is suffering either from energy poverty, from food poverty, from white good poverty, from something to keep them warm, certainly to ring the welfare department of this council. You might have time on it. No form to fill in. The assessment is done over the phone, and it's almost instant to help those people.
Thank you. Let's do sorry, one question. Okay. Thank you. Councillor, that concludes the Cabinet members' reports. Okay. Agenda item 8 is to deal with any questions made by members. 2 questions have been received. The first is from Councillor Gert, who has given the required notice to ask a question to the portfolio holder for community, poverty and health, full details of which are set out in the Council agenda. Councillor Cummings, would you please reply to the question?
Oh, sorry. Got Councillor Gert going to ask you. Fly tipping, as you know, is a massive problem across the district, particularly on the periphery. It seems when it's on council land, which is reported, it's collected, or within days it's collected. But when it's on unregistered land, we do have to find out who owns that land. So we would do a council search, and if we can find out who owns it, then obviously we write to them and ask them to clear it. If it is that fly tipping is a danger to the public, we will collect it, and then we'll issue the necessary what it costs for us to actually do that. But yeah, unregistered land is something that we have to go and find out who owns it before we can actually go and ask those people that own that land to actually clear it. If it is that we can't find out who owns it, 9 times out of 10 the council will clear it.
Thank you. Right, council procedures, rules entitle the question to one supplementary question, but it must arise directly out of the original question posed on the reply given. Councillor Gert, do you wish to ask a supplementary question?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm afraid, first of all, I'm going to have to take issue with the answer that I've been given, because that is not what is happening on the ground. Just give a bit of background, if I may, Mr. Mayor, so you can understand where I'm coming from. I took early retirement in January 2021, and I helped form a volunteer litter picking group called the Notting Hill Litter Dusters with 2 other guys who had also recently retired right now in the day ashore. So this has come out of our experience of trying to deal with this issue. And it's through the litter picking that I was then as a councillor, and that I've carried it on as a councillor. And what happens in effect when it comes to fly tipping on unregistered land as a councillor, I put it into members' inquiries. I get the response back, it's unregistered, go away. And that's it. And if I may, Mr. Mayor, I'll try not to be too long, but I'll give some examples of how this has happened.
Just as you are in for the question, I appreciate what you're trying to say, Councillor Bear, fully understand, fully agree, but you have to focus on just the questions rather than giving additional. If you want to do that, obviously you can take that in a separate way.
But you have to explain to me afterwards how I do that, because I don't know how I'm going to get this. I've tried going through members' inquiries, I've tried going everywhere, and all I'm doing is hitting the brick wall.
I'm sorry to go across that, I really am, because that's disappointing to hear that. I think the best thing we can do is to have a meeting with the service director who sat at the back and is listening, so maybe you and Clear Office can have a little bit of a meeting and discuss those problems that you're coming against. But I'm really sad to hear that.
Thank you. The second question is from Councillor Harvey, who has given quite notice to ask questions to the portfolio holders for culture, leisure and sport, full details of which are set out in the council agenda. Councillor Graham, could you please give your reflective question?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Harvey, for this question. In terms of the full market hall conversion, we are going to be holding one event a month after that day, including 6 showcase events throughout the year. I think in the question you've said that it's going to be in direct competition with Talion North. What I would say to that is Talion North is going to provide a very different offer. I think the two can definitely coexist together in the city. We need indoor event space to hold things. We've really struggled in recent years. And when we've held things like Gaia in the Cathedral, or we've held the Festival of the Moon in Wakefield Exchange, it's been absolutely brilliant in terms of bringing people in, getting people together. It's been a real success story, and I think with one event a month and then 6 showcase events throughout the year, it's going to be a real success, and that's just the things that we're going to be putting on. In terms of revenue, this isn't about the council making a profit, it's about having a facility to serve the community. You know, when we were in there for Wakefest, myself and the leader, the way that we could transform that space and bring young children in and listen to stories, it was just fantastic, and we want more and more of that. We need a high quality space to do it. So what I will say is, let's get behind this project. Let's really sell this city as a destination, as a place for people to come, and let's not try and pick holes in every plan that we have.
Okay, thank you. Council procedure rules, again entitled questions to one supplementary. Question that must arise directly out of the original question posed or the reply given. Councillor Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Michael, for that answer. But I am still not convinced, because we have two big venues, and just recently that the Civic Exchange has applied for the license as well. So you have restaurants, you have pubs, and then the other venue also have brewery, restaurant on site as well. So Wakefield District has a limited catchment area. So if the council Wakefield Exchange is not for profit, how we can be able to guarantee that the two marketing events, two marketing teams will work together in tandem to make sure that we don't overlap each other, and we make sure that the private sector will not be jeopardizing the profit that they may or may not have from the council's operation as well in the same locality. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I hear your concerns, but I do not share those concerns. We've got a food and beverage offer in there, we've already getting tenants, we've got the business support, the digital businesses coming along, anchor tenants already secure for there as well, which is funded by ACE, £1 million a year. There's a lot that's going to be going on Wakefield Exchange. It's not just going to be an event space, it's all about helping small businesses to get a foothold, to get established, and then to go and buy their own properties eventually. There's going to be a lot more going on in there. And I really do think it's going to work. When I've spoken to people about it and said, look what we're going to be getting, people are excited, people can't wait to have that facility. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see who's right.
Thank you. Right, can we please move on now to agenda item 9, which is the final item of consideration to deal with any motions. All motions will be considered. The first motion is from Councillor Gertz. Would you please move your motion to Councillor Gertz?
Yes, thank you. This motion's come about after I was contacted by a resident of Garden Lane in Nottingham last year. Residential streets near a school, and they've got a few problems with cars travelling in excess of the speed limit or too fast anyway. And they wanted some speed calming measures put in place, or the speed limit reducing. And I honestly thought this would be an easy fix. How wrong was I? So when I put it into members' inquiries, this is the response I got. Traffic calming measures and 20-mile-an-hour limits are often used together to help prevent further injury-related road incidents. They are not solely used as an attempt to control traffic speeds, as speed enforcement rests with the police. We have searched our database of such incidents for Garden Lane and the surrounding streets, and there's been none in the last 5 years, the standard investigation period. Consequently, this falls outside of current priorities for intervention. So straight away you've got to have an injury before we'll even consider it. So I didn't like that response, so I challenged it, and got further response. Traffic calming measures are indeed considered as a preventative measure when it comes to road casualties. However, when you interpret that at its very basic level, taking account of the fact road accidents can happen on any road at any given time, you would need to install traffic calming measures and 20-mile-an-hour speed limits on each and every road. Not only is that impractical, it's also prohibitively expensive. To help us prioritise our traffic calming programme, we identify those roads with worst road safety records based on the number of reported injury-related road incidents. It also allows us to monitor and gauge whether or not we have prevented further incidents from occurring. So again, you've got to have injuries. You know, we don't seem to be bothered about the safety of those kids. Let them get run over first. I find that uncaring. So I went back again and I thought, I'll change tactics here. And I asked, what is the policy for speed limits around by schools? I was shocked. We ain't got one. I really didn't think we'd have one. So as things stand, this is the response I got, as things stand, we do not have a policy on speed limits around schools that treat them in the same way as all requests we receive for 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. We give priority to schemes that meet the following criteria. They are not on A or B classified roads, they have existing mean speed limits below 30 miles an hour, and there is evidence of significant community support as assessed by the local board members. Locations will then only be considered for 20-mile-an-hour limits or zones if 2 out of the following are met. Current mean speeds are at or below 24 miles an hour. There is depth of residential development and evidence of pedestrian and cycles movement in the area, and there is a record of injury-related road incidents. Again, let's have some injuries first. Why? Why do we need injuries first? So it seems this council only considers lowering the speed limit in drivers where drivers are already driving under 30 miles an hour. What's the point in that? If they're already driving under 30 miles an hour, why do we need to lower the speed limit? Why are we having to wait until somebody gets hurt? Surely it's common sense to have the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, especially near schools. Surely. And then I noticed a report from the Welsh Labour government, and they're bringing it in across all of their restricted roads, all across Wales. I thought, fantastic. Surely if the Welsh Labour government thinks it's a good idea, then Wakefield Labour Council will think it's a good idea too, and protect our children.
Can I advise Councillor, you've got 30 seconds.
That's it, I'm just about done, Mr Mayor. Thank you very much.
motion seconded? Councillor Mason seconding the motion. Do you wish to formally speak now or reserve the right to speak until later in the debate?
I can speak now.
Okay.
Yeah. So as Councillor Gert said, the council should be putting the safety of the school children and pedestrians above all financial costs, and it's shameful that we require an injury or someone to be killed before putting safety measures in place. The 2020 campaign is well known and it's proven to work, so it comes as a surprise to me that the council does not already have a policy in place to lower speed limits near schools, especially primary schools, and it's high time we had one, so let's get one written. I know there is a cost, which is why this motion calls on Westminster Government to provide funding, but it is something the council should be doing regardless of that. Like Peter said, the Labour Welsh Government have put pedestrian safety first, so I'm hoping that this Labour-led council will follow their lead and put the safety of our children above all else. I don't expect it to happen overnight, but let's make a start. And can we start on Garden Lane first? Thank you.
Thank you. Does any member wish to speak on the motion? May I remind members that speeches must be directed to a question of discussion or to a personal explanation or point of order. Councillor Moore.
Mr. Mayor, let's get this straight before we start trickling down to political football. We do have a policy on 20-mile-an-hour zones, not just specific for schools, but for our communities across the district, for our estates, for our schools, for our town centres. We will look to put 20-mile-an-hour zones where we have support from businesses, from communities. And we have that in place. I don't disagree with what you said, Councillor Gerd, but we have to have a criteria where we can put these in. We have not a wash with money. We don't have blanket funding for all this. It's something that comes from the internal hours budget. We will have location. We will work with members. I have many members asking me about 20-mile-an-hour zones, and we've got them all over the district. Since 2019, when we adopted this report, we have put them in place in Ackworth, Altoft, Stanley, Pontefract, Albury, Outwood, and around West with Council Kingsport, 20-mile-an-hour zone around there. Ossett, South Kirby, we've put them all over the place, so we're not against 20-mile-an-hour zones. We implemented it in 2019 to adopt having them in our communities. We just need a bit of criteria and support from the community to start to implement these. Some people want them, some people do not want them. But at the end of the day, it also comes down to enforcing these. The 20-mile-an-hour zones have to be self-enforcing, so we have to put our speed bumps or something in place to lower the speeds down. The enforcement comes down to the West Yorkshire Police, and they will not enforce anywhere where the speed limit is not under 24 miles an hour. So that's one of the other criteria we have to use working with them. So it's not that we're against what you're saying. We introduced it. We've actually in 2019, we championed 20-mile-an-hour zones all over. To say we haven't got a policy, when we clearly have, it's there. It's written for anyone to see, for everybody to look at, for everybody to be able to support. So what other thing about this? You don't want to be personally. You could ask me. We met yourselves a few weeks ago. I don't recall you mentioned about 20-mile-an-hour zones in that meeting. But we met with Martin Barge. You're well known to Highways. You've had many meetings with them. So just maybe a few bits of paper in why you deny them. Campaign your community and we'll support you. So we're not against this 20-mile-an-hour zone. As I'm repeating myself, we introduce them in this district. We champion. We support them.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. Councillor Keith.
Yeah, and literally, endorse what Matthew just said. I wrote a paper with the former head of the Green West, was in charge. And in 2019, we put together for an area club called the Outwood Back Cross, which incorporates 2 schools, one of the 4 biggest high schools in the country, a sheltered housing scheme, a park, and various different areas taking you across to the Outwood railway station. So this area, I wrote a paper on it, and we did ask for the design to be put forward on a 2020 zone, and that will be coming this year, as Matthew just said. It's just going up to public consultation. Now that will include reviewing the traffic calming measures that were there, that's been put in for 30 years, and so the things have altered since the new measurements and various different things. So the thing's been there. If you, as Matthew said, if you apply for it, and we did, and we've got it coming in that. But yeah, you've got to roll it out to other schools, but you've got to make a case for it. And coming back onto the point that you've got to wait until there's accidents, we've said this for many years. I went into a campaign on Leeds Road to get speed cameras. And you've got to have fatalities, a number of fatalities, before they'll even consider that. And the reason for that is because they've only got a finite amount of money to spend. So they spend it on the accident black spots first. And obviously they want to cure those problems first before they come. Where people can say, well, anybody can see that it's going to happen there. Unless you've got the accident that caused the black spot, you won't get the tapping into the funding. But the 2020 zones has been around, as we said, for some years, and we're getting it.
Thank you, Councillor Foster.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. Councillor, I have to take issue with the fact that you say that the council doesn't take school children's safety seriously enough. The school where I am chair of governors and another school in my ward, they take up the offer of the council school street initiative, where they actually put in restriction of access to that area during times when children are coming to and from school. And I have to say, that's been so far, since it's been in operation, it's been really successful, because effectively, even with the 20-mile-an-hour restriction, it still doesn't stop the volume of traffic there, whereas when you look at the actual school streets initiative, it restricts traffic within that area, and I have to say, it's been really well received. So I'd urge you to look at that, because it's there, and it's a cost-effective way, and rather than just restricting the speed, it restricts access, which we feel has been really positive. So I'd urge you to look at that.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn.
Meant to be on best behaviour today.
Why change the obviously?
I just take umbrage with a couple of points Councillor Morley's raised, talking about working with council officers to try and get things done. It was about 2 years ago now, we talked about a verge hardening scheme. If we can't get some concrete poured down to cover up verges that are a mess, we're still waiting for that to happen. Working with council officers and council cabinet members is a two-way process. It's been very difficult over the last 4 years here to try and get things done when Labour cabinet members wish to make things life as difficult as possible. Now, I just wondered if Councillor Morley and the Wakefield cabinet would be writing to Mark Drakeford to tell them that Wales have got it wrong, and if he'll be crying out and saying that 20 miles an hour schemes in urban areas is rubbish, and if he disagrees with that. The whole purpose and point of this motion is to try and make streets safer. And we're just hearing about from Wakefield, it sounds like it'd be a little bit hard work. There's loads of council funding that could be looked to implement this scheme. There was a council budget where we consistently called for safer street zones, which Labour voted against. There are endlessly money that is frittered away and wasted on petrol that could be used to facilitate this scheme. So I don't buy the argument that money is an issue. This motion has said that it is about putting children first, and if Labour don't wish to put the safety of school kids first, then let that be known in this year's local elections. That's fine.
That's great.
Councillor
Yeah. It says here, Wakefield Council does not condemn the policy. It does. It does. It's been highlighted. It does. And I think, I just find it a bit annoying sometimes. And nobody, and I take exception to people, suggesting that this council, me as an individual, don't care about kids' safety, because we do, because we all have it to deal with. And in areas where it's been asked for and extended, it's been done. The biggest issue that we have in and around schools, which most people have to condemn, is people parking with 20 miles an hour zone. Because I've come to consult with some of our parents from these schools, if they could get a car in school hall, they'd take it into school hall to drop the kids off, rather than obeying the rules and it. I've got a prime example in Ash Road, which is a 20 mile an hour zone, where you need, because there's own car park, which is attached to Lane Centre. But every day, that road is rammed because people are too idle to go into car parks and use it. But I don't like this idea that this government, or this council, has no policy regarding what we do. And it's about words, and words have consequences, and I take exception to the fact that we have been standing in this council chamber today making accusations about we don't care about kids' safety, because we do. And I think that needs withdrawing, because it's not very nice when people come to this council chamber people like myself who dealt with fatalities on roads outside schools and in this community, and we do care about road safety, and we shouldn't be coming here today and suggesting to this council chamber this is a public, this recorded as a public meeting that we don't care about kids. We all have issues regarding about the has to be, and I find it quite frustrating sometimes about the has to be X, Y, Z, and X number of accidents. I get all that. But don't come in and say that we do not have a policy when we do.
Can I bring Councillor Morley in please at this point? I'm using 1612, 1613 in order for you to give a response and maybe point of order or a personal explanation.
I take great exception to what you've just said. All you are doing is pure electioneering. That's all you're doing. Councillor Girk, I just say, I have a great amount of respect for you. And what the resolution you put today, it's been put with thought and feeling, maybe misguided, and maybe you're not talking to it, but I know something can be out. It's quite true, but all you come out is electioneering, and we'll sit to death of it. God help the people of Brentford, whatever it's called, Harrogate and Knaresborough. We just showed up and lived 10 hours council.
I think you've stretched the rules a little bit there, Councillor Morley. Councillor Byford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of times people have said things in this chamber today which I would also find offensive and upsetting. But people have mentioned speed cameras, and people have, Councillor Morley mentioned enforcement. I'd just like it, if it's possible, that those two things could be expanded upon, just to explain that we're not responsible for either of those two issues, so that if anybody goes away from here and reports on the fact that we have made comments about speed camera provision and or enforcing speed limits, they are the responsibility of other people, not this council. And I think that's an important point we should make.
Councillor Isherwood.
I think the next one quite I mean, I'm not time on that local name of it, but Councillor Good, I think he's on that track really. However, I think Richard Forster's given him the best piece of advice that will get this afternoon, the school street programme. So instead of him laughing about or maybe something, if you apply to them, we've got two, I think, in person, and it's all thing in person. We've done one proposed. So there's no speed limits, there's no cars allowed. It's just banned from when the school's open and when the pick-up times. And it's an absolute excellent scheme. You actually see kids playing in the street here as well. At that time, you know, kids that aren't going to school, you see them out in the street, which is a wonderful initiative. So take all that claptrap out that he's talking about. Listen to people that respect you, and you'll get somewhere. School, street, programme. Get applying for that, and you'll find a massive difference.
Thank you, Councillor Bishop. Can I just remind everybody that we are focused on the motions being put forward to Council. I think we're just sort of moving into separate outside areas and away from the motion. So I'd appreciate it if you can stick with the motion, please. Councillor Akbar, please.
Granted, this council does care about school children and there is a policy in place. But taking the politics away from it, just looking at this motion, of course that policy can be improved, and it's asking to have a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit near schools. Lots of areas have been named where there are 20-mile-per-hour speed zones, but there's also lots in Wakefield that there isn't, and there should be parity across all areas. No one school has importance over other schools. And again, it's not asking the council to do anything impossible, it's asking us to request from government to fund this. I don't see what the issue is, I think it should be the same across the board in Wakefield. So I support this motion, but I don't support the point where it says this council doesn't care about school children. I just think we're doing a good job, but we can do better, of course. There's always room for improvement.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pending though it does, I may have to agree with Councillor Tully. I don't think it's right.
Thank you.
I'll see you later for a bit. No, I don't agree that anybody should come in and suggest that anybody in this chamber doesn't care segregate our children outside schools. And if anybody doesn't, get up and leave, because you shouldn't be here. I was going to add that my exception, and whilst I support the motion generally, Councillor Gert's assurance that all things from Wales seem to be a good idea. I'm not sure that's the case.
I'll reflect on that later. I think that South Wales. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't see why Councillor Gert cannot bring this very serious issue to this council for a very civil democratic debate. And thank you for bringing this issue, because I think in terms of 20 miles per hour debate, this council really has to speed up a little bit. So 2018, I was elected. Parents and residents in West Brennan primary and infant school has told me they need a 20 mile per hour sign. But guess what? The enforcement officer from this council went to say to the head teacher and sent a letter after the inspection saying we have seen some very bad crossings, but we have seen never something this bad. And we're quite wondering why nobody get killed and injured. Okay? From that verdict, 5 years on, I am still waiting for that 20 mile per hour sign to say that this council cares for children's lives. I think that we need to get that done before you can convince me that is what you intend to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? Councillor Jones.
I too have great respect for council and working on a few projects. But we are being asked on the motion to resolve to produce and implement a policy. I think that the council don't work the way they said, well, let's improve the policy. I'm not going to support it, but there is a policy in place, and that's why I will be able to vote for the words that are correct in this motion.
Thank you. Any comments, any further comments, questions? Councillor Ahmed.
The procedural matter, if there wasn't a policy, then the motion should have been accepted. So it says here, as it's written here, Wakefield Council does not have a policy regarding speed limits surrounding schools. If that wasn't the case, then the motion should have been accepted. So in that, in the entirety of the motion, I pretty much agree with everything that you've written here. And I don't see any objection. I think anything that's written within the resolve section is possible. It says there to produce and implement a policy, whether that means refining a policy that you think exists, or whether you take a new policy. That's what happens. So Councillor Gert's brought an issue forward here, which everybody seems to be in agreement with, but I don't know whether the issue is that he's the person who's presented it and you haven't, and that's what the exception is. So I think it's really important that we just forget about your own personal differences, and this is quite an important motion that we should take forward, and if something needs changing, we just accept the resolution. The resolution here is quite straightforward. Implement, produce, seems quite straightforward. It's not hard, no getting semantics on that. And recognises the importance of reduction of speed. I'm sure we all agree with that as well. And we write to the Secretary of State and request additional funding. I don't see why anyone would have a problem with that. So I think it's important that we look at our own conscience here and say, can we really walk away from the council chamber having voted against this motion? Because I won't be voting against it.
Thank you.
I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank Councillor Morley and the officers within the Adelaide Department. About a year ago, I told them about a street in Normanton that had a lot of traffic near the school, and Councillor Morley and officers came out to see me at the street. I met with Councillor Morley on one occasion, I met with the council officer, Martin Brown, on another occasion. There'd been nothing but helpful. They've listened to the concerns about the traffic in the
It's
school.
not to do with the motion.
No, yes, you've gone off the point. Sorry, Councillor.
This is to do with the motion because I am saying there is a policy already in place. I followed the rules of that policy by contacting Councillor Morley, by meeting with Martin Brown's out there. They asked me for the evidence that this is what the residents wanted. I've collated that evidence, ironically, because I was hit by a car, I've not handed in the evidence yet. But I just want to say, the policy in place does work. It's, you know, word for word, what Matthew and the officers have said has worked for me. certainly has worked for Normanton in the sense that we've got together the evidence, we're submitting the evidence, and we're looking at a blanket 20 mile an hour policy near the school and the surrounding streets. And I do want to say thank you for the policy you have already got. If it needs improving, then that needs looking at, but it is working for Normanton. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Right, Councillor Gers, as moved the motion, you have the right to reply. In exercising your right to reply, may I remind and I stress that there are no new matters can be introduced.
I'm a bit shocked at the reaction. I'm stunned to hear that we have got a policy, because it isn't me that's saying we haven't. No, it's not. It's not me that's saying we haven't. It's the highways officer. In his response to me, and I'll read it out again. This is the highways officer. As things stand, we do not have a policy on speed limits around schools that treat them in the same way as all the requests we receive for 20 mile an hour speed limits. So you can wave it as much as you like. Yeah? It's not me saying he ain't got it. It's the highways officer saying he ain't got it. So if you've got one, why don't you show me it?
Please sit down.
If you've got one, why didn't the highways officer tell me about it? So maybe that's something you need to check with. But I'm quite happy to change the wording, Mr. Mayor. If you want to change the wording to improve the policy that I was told didn't exist, I'm quite happy to change that. Because I agree with the gentleman here that if the policy exists, then my motion shouldn't have been accepted. It should have been told to me that it exists, and I would have reworded it before I even brought it in. And equally, Labour could have put an amendment forward to change that wording. The whole point of this is to improve the safety around schools. That is what I am after. That is all I want, is to improve the safety around schools. I don't want to imply that anybody in this chamber doesn't care about the safety of children. But the objection I have is to that being a criteria to it, is that there has to be injuries first. That's my objection to it, that should be included. I'm quite happy to change the wording. I would have changed the wording before I brought it forward, had I been told that this policy exists. But I was told it doesn't exist. That's not my fault.
Right, at this particular point, I appreciate all the different things that have taken place. This is going to now, I'm going to call now a 10-minute strategic break, comfort break, okay, so that the legal officer, Councillor Gers, Councillor Morley can talk this through, because I think obviously there's valid points here. Okay, so I'm going to call a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back. Did we come back a bit too sharpish? Because people flying all over the place. Thank you. Right, Councillor Dirk, do you wish to alter?
Yes, I'd like to alter the wording on my motion, if that's all right. I think you can read it out.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hayes, to consent to that?
Yeah.
I said, sign of friendship, I consent as well. Okay, so can we now please show all those in... Oh, sorry, you do, sorry. Do you know, I've got everything almost right, apart from the last bit, the most important bit. Carry on.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council, if you turn to agenda page 3, and I'll let you know what the alteration is. It's where the first motion that's under consideration today starts resolve, and in the first line to reword it to say to review the existing 20 mph speed limits policy. And those are the alterations. So that is the motion that is now before council and upon which you're going to vote.
Right, so...
Mr Mayor, start with the paper and in the whole of the motion. Thank you.
Right, so please show all those in favour of the motion. Anyone against? Right, so the motion is carried. Thank you very much. The second motion is from Councillor Sharp. Would you please move your motion to council?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. This council notes that recently media headlines have been inundated with the news of PC David Carrick of London Metropolitan Police, who's been guilty to over 20 rape cases against several women spanning 2 decades. This really is a deeply concerning situation affecting community confidence in policing that has led to 7 women coming forward to myself and Councillor Key stating that should they ever find themselves in an incident where they will be required in an arrest or otherwise and asked to accompany a lone male police officer, they say that they will not comply with any request or order given by that officer. These incidents are having a serious impact on the police's perception and integrity of how we see our police service, the culture that exists within it, and what safeguards there are to prevent such behaviour from becoming the norm and accepted. This council resolves to write to West Yorkshire Police expressing our concerns and requesting that as far as it is practicable, the following measures are put in place with the Wakefield district. Number 1, all double crewed units are sent to any incident within within Wakefield district whereby a single female has reported a crime, either at her home, address or a public place. Any single male police officers are not left alone with a single female complainant, witness or suspect whilst under police supervision or custody. Confirmation that police training regarding the safeguarding of women and girls is mandatory, and further assurances are given that this training has been completed before officers are attending any scene. That statistical information is provided as to the number of serving police officers currently under investigation for sexual offences towards women and girls in West Yorkshire. That West Yorkshire Police provide assurances that a suitable action plan is in place to prevent and address incidents of this kind, and that the council, as part of community safety partnership, will continue to work with West Yorkshire Police as appropriate to support this plan. As someone who served as a previous West Yorkshire Police officer for nearly 6 years, I'm really appalled, as well as the whole Labour group are, by the heinous crimes coming out of our serving police officers, whether it be in the Met or otherwise. I'm sure that we all agree as a council that we need to be the trailblazers in making this a local government issue as well as a national policing issue. The women and girls in Ward 21, for example, represent 51% of the population, and we cannot have, as a district, 51% of the population not complying with the police. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Is the motion seconded? Right, so Councillor second motion. Thank you. So the second motion, do you wish to formally speak now or reserve your right to speak until later in the debate?
Speak now, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to make the idea that it's not easy to throw bricks and it is to catch them, and also that not all forces are comparable to the men. But I support this motion not to criticise the police force, but to help halt the slow erosion of public confidence in the service. We police in this country by consent, and that confidence is imperative. Councillor Sharp and I were told of the work that they are doing, and that they are all too aware of the impact of recent horrendous episodes and events, that they are stringent in their vetting procedures, and that they are adjusting training and security within the force. But the public aren't in those meetings to hear those reassurances. Public perception is that they're only doing this adjustment because they could fail and be seen to fail, otherwise it would be business as usual. And the archaic practices will still flavour and dominate from within the diminished force. It is said that the best way to protect and develop good practices is the regime itself. Bad apples are spotted before they go rotten by their colleagues and by their immediate superiors. But when there are serious staff shortages, will an offending officer be stood down? As the pen that drew the thin blue line run out of ink, because it is not being refilled or replenished. Now, no recruits and adopting a natural wastage mean that offending officers can't or won't be disciplined or even taken out of the force altogether because of staffing shortages. And what about the outdated culture? What if the superior officer is steeped in the exact bad behaviour and culture that we want weeded out? We expressed our desire to reinforce a credible whistleblowing culture within the force, so it can police itself. We call for the two officers to go to calls of vulnerable women to be the start of a new way of working that considers the victim and their predicament. The help they summon should not be a lottery. Those riding to the rescue should be someone who will not present as big a problem as their original assailant to escape from. We all appreciate, and I think we all feel, that the police officers do a fantastic job. It's a difficult job. And they are competent and diligent. The vast majority of them are competent and diligent and compassionate and dedicated to their calling. But we have to make sure that we have to take these measures to say that we can say that with confidence that we know that to be true, not just expect it. Thank you, and I will support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Keith. Does any member wish to speak on the motion? May I remind members that speeches must be directed to the question under discussion or to the personal explanation or point of order. Councillor Cummins.
Yeah, I think the Met Police particularly should hold their hands in shape. Every day we're turning on the radio and finding out that there has been more and more things happening within that particular establishment. As chair of the Community Safety Partnership, this did come up at our last meeting, and we asked that the police be held to account. I think what's happening in the Met Police does not reflect what's happening across the whole of the force. I do think that this resolution is very timely to raise this issue. I think about what West Yorkshire Police particularly are doing to address those concerns. And I fully support the resolution.
Thank you. Councillor Akbar.
I support the motion in principle. It's a good motion, but just to put out there that West Yorkshire Police, especially in Wakefield, do a fantastic job. And just furthermore, as far as I'm concerned, with my dealings with the police, I understand that all officers, when they attend upon victims or culprits for that matter, use their body cams. But in any event, I do support the motion. I do think 2 officers should attend if it is practical. But again, highlighting that there are bad apples in every job role, every community, every administration. So it's not a personal attack on West Yorkshire Police in any way, shape or form.
Thank you. Councillor
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since the case is reviewed, I am in no doubt that every single police force in the country will have been looking at their procedures, the staff, they will be looking at the training programme, they will be looking at the way they interview the people that come into the police force, And I am in no doubt whatsoever that that will have taken place across the country. Now, in my experience, the West Yorkshire Police, the police that serve our community, we have no issue whatsoever with the service that they have been giving to this district. I am aware that we have a partnership programme where the council works with partners, and the police are a very important partner. I am comfortable with this motion because it's giving a list of things that we're making a requirement of the police. I don't think that we should be telling the police in West Yorkshire how to do their job. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holland. Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just said to Councillor Haynes, we don't tell them we should. That's the question. Look, the Met is not West Yorkshire, I'm going to say that. And the Met's long been a basket case, and there's no question that it has. But this guy, Carrick, was nicknamed Dodgy Dave or Dirty Dave by his mates. You know, surely alarm bells must have been ringing. Otherwise, they wouldn't give him that name. I know I'm good at giving nicknames and do it all the time. Right? So, you know, I think really we've got to be a bit careful not to go and label West Yorkshire police officers as being untrustworthy, but at the same time, the safety of women has to take precedence pretty much in everything, I think, because it's not quite the same as a male being accosted, you know, a police officer, you get in a fight with them. You can't do that when you're a girl getting in there. And that's the real issue, isn't it? And the control, and the way that man did what he did was frankly disgraceful. He got away with it what he did.
Thank you. Councillor Tully.
Yeah, I'm happy to support the resolution, and as I said earlier, you know, I just think it does make the point that issues that's arisen in the Met, some of these issues have been raised now to 20,000 redundancies over a period of time, and I believe a slacking off of vetting procedures, and I think that can well apply across all. And I want to say this, and I'm fully supportive of my colleagues' resolution, and I fully understand all the sentiments about making sure that people don't look and go out. Just as a word of caution, we are still struggling across all the district with numbers. Yesterday was our PAC meeting, which goes to South East, Orleans, was South Kirby, South Endwater, the Fairhall Strait, this area. 3 police officers attended that PAC meeting. What I didn't have, and the people in that meeting, was security that while that PAC meeting was taking place, another 10 were out in my community, in Hemsworth and the surrounding communities, doing the job. So at any time during that meeting yesterday, had there been, that meeting would have come to an halt, and they would have to point out mechanisms that there's been a major issue. Still is a major issue with numbers, with recruiting, and I fully support what my colleague is saying, because if, you know, it's about building up and making sure that women are protected, but we also have to take into consideration there is still major issues with numbers and people on shifts. And the days of 10, 20 people being on a particular shift have long gone, and I'm waiting for the day when they come back. But there's times in my particular part of the world, there's 4 days in some weeks, there's no police on duty at all because they're off duty. We need to bear that in mind, and that's not in any way on my said I am fully in support of the resolution for today.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Thanks, Mayor. I mean, I have issues with West Yorkshire Police, and whether that's their problem, you know, their fault or the government's funding fault, I have issues with them. I don't think they're everywhere they need to be. And I said yesterday at Cabinet, they've taken the front desk out of Wakefield City. You never see them doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then today, we're inundated with police absolutely everywhere. They're every street in the city, which is fantastic to see. But as Councillor Tully's pointed out, you don't always get the police where you need them to be because of the financial situation. I think it's absolutely devastating that put forward here is really sensible. I don't think it's telling the police how to do their job. I think it's doing our job as politicians, trying to influence a policy, and that's why we have committees and boards that we have representatives on in order to do this. So I think it's some really sensible suggestions here, and I think picking up on what Councillor Keith said, the members of the public aren't in these meetings and don't find out the nitty-gritty of what the police are changing and what they're doing. And so hopefully when you get an answer back from this, you can reassure those women who've approached you. But hopefully we can also find a way to get that positive message of what changes are being made out to the general public as well, because I think that's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Councillor Peters.
Yes, just the briefest of points really, Mr. Mayor, which is I think to have a single crew response officer is incredibly dangerous to police officers concerned as well. I think having worked with mental health crisis team where we have to call police out in the middle of the night, in all respect to what people do, but we're asking police to go into the unknown and asking people on their own to go into the unknown. I think this benefits police officers as well.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Supporting this resolution, I think all of us here in the public outside need to know, particularly the areas mentioned by Nadia and motion, that this council will not tolerate anything other than the protection of women in violent circumstances, wherever it may be. I think within it as well, there's an issue in terms of transgender as well, where we've had instances where that has not been entirely looked at in its own issue. The motion itself is an excellent motion, and I was thought what I've been looking and reading and hearing, in that it just shouldn't stay within Wakefield Council. I believe this is a motion wider, possibly should be taken to the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor Alison Lowe, on behalf of this council, giving its support for West Yorkshire Police, the work that they do. I stood 11 years ago in the precinct when we had the two C's, Cameron and Clegg, brought in austerity. And the West Yorkshire Police then lost 2,000 members, 2,000 off the beat. And now the consequences are coming home. In fact, I did see a report which is actually doubting the statistics of the government, and saying in the year of the late PM that 15,000 had actually left the numbers who went into training. That says a lot about what's happening in terms of training. But we've got to support the police, what they're doing within our district, and I think the wider elements across our West Yorkshire are probably in the same situation as we are, and this should go to the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor, if that's the way Nadia wants to get the wider support for this motion. Thank you. That's the way Nadia wants to get the wider support for this motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Nadia, for bringing this motion. And I have to say, I fully understand the several constituents who came to you and said they wouldn't want to be in a car along with the woman. I was not with the policeman, and neither would I. And I sent her a packing at him and was probably told it's not right to know rotten apples, just cover rotten apples. Or bad apples, and we all know what bad apples lead to, give them the whole barrel. I get your point about the way I meant to be particularly in that case. So you seem to remember was the West Midlands series, possibly because I'm Irish. I don't believe it's just in the Met. I think a lot of these problems will be all over the police force. Now we hear about the numbers being reduced, and I'm not sure what the things like last night's PAC meeting, which was very well crowded, turned out the police. But the things like training problem, the kind of people who want to get into the police and want to join is the problem with these kind of characters, not being able to stop them, or not being able to deal with them early, and are considering things like banter. The bit that I still remember ever find active shocking is a young woman gets stopped by the police during lockdown, and is then killed by this policeman. And it's frightening, it really is terrifying that can happen. And I'm not, the ones I'm more concerned about is the police who might decide to kill me. I'm not sure I can do it turning up my house. Will make me feel much better. But it really does there has to be serious improvement in the culture of the police. And it's not necessarily West Yorkshire, just the Met, but overall, I don't trust them. I think probably 50% of the population don't trust them. And that's not very good for either them or the population.
Thank you. Are any further comments? Right, Councillor Sharp, as a moving motion, you have the right to reply. In exercising the right to reply, may I remind and stress that no new matter can be introduced. Councillor Sharp?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank everyone that's spoken and everyone's made valid points. I would just like to stress that this current moment in time, there isn't a single member within this chamber that can guarantee that in West Yorkshire Police at this moment in time, there isn't a David Carrick being investigated. We have no knowledge of that. We are not given that information. This motion would provide that information to us as a local authority so that we are aware, we know that things are working on in the background to be able to prosecute these people and bring justice to the victims. I would really urge everyone not to make this political. This is for everyone within the district. This benefits your sister, your mother, your nan, anyone who looks after you who is female. I would urge you to vote for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Okay, so please show all those in favour of the motion. Please show those against the motion. Any abstentions? Right, that is carried. Okay. Right, we need to get to yes. Just bring back Councillors Hunt and Sanders. Right, the third motion is from Councillor Haynes. Would you please move your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For those of you who don't understand, Rule 1611 is a procedural rule necessary by legislation to ensure the good management of local government council meetings and forms part of the constitution of this council. The rule is there to support the chair and in the case of this council to ensure the time limit on meetings that you have agreed to can be adhered to. We have no issue with the responsible use of Rule 1611. I would now like to make a joint statement following the discussion I've had with the leader of the opposition. I have had the opportunity to discuss the matter with the leader. My purpose in proposing the motion was for the council to consider how the rules are used and that we allow debate, but that the business of council can be conducted effectively. The leader is in agreement with that approach, and the chief legal officer had intended to review the rules in any case. The leader has confirmed that a cross-party group will be formed to review the rules and how we operate them. On that basis, I am happy to withdraw my proposal and understand that I can do so because no vote has been taken on it.
That's fine. That's correct. Okay, so
move to vote.
It's been withdrawn, so and nobody please say we want 5 vote, for a call. So, okay. Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Right, the fourth and final motion is from Councillor Harvey, which has been slightly amended with permission from me and copies of which are available in the chamber. Would you please move your altered motion to Council?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I formally submit the motion, may I express my special thanks to you and to the legal officer for allowing me to amend it last minute. And also want to wish you and the mayoress the best future and also healthy future as well for both of you. And I know that you have represented our district very well in the last 12 months. But I'm also here, Councillor Safe and Councillor Target, And I hope you have enjoy your retirement and also have a wonderful holidays, you know, all, every year, all the time. So, Mr. Mayor, as we are all aware, Dumbledore Road is a major road connecting Wakefield and Huddersfield. It is a well-known fact that everyone traveling on this road, especially between the hours of 3:30 and 5:30 p.m. on a weekday, experiences traffic congestion, which has resulted in several serious issues affecting not only the time management of the road user, but also the health and well-being of any nearby residents. According to the data from the Highways Agency, in the past year, there have been 32 accidents on Dumbledore Road, resulting in injury and 2 fatalities as well. The road is no accident black spot and poses a serious risk to the road users. As well as delayed journey times, such constant congestion in the same area has been shown to increase air pollution in the surrounding areas, air pollution which has now been voted the world's biggest single environmental health threat by the World Health Organization. The reduced air quality, a direct result of the congestion along Dumbledore Road, have had serious health impact on individuals and community. Experts have noted that maintained increase of fine particulate exposure can be associated with a 7% increase in risk of damage from natural causes. So feedback from the Air Quality Status Report 2022 by Wakefield Council showed that the air quality along Dumbledore Road is consistently poor, with level of nitrogen dioxide exceeding the annual limit set by the European Union in several locations along the road. Poor air quality can cause or exacerbate a range of health issues, including asthma, lung disease, and heart disease. Furthermore, in addition to traffic congestion and air pollution, flooding on Dumbledore Road has become a recurring issue during the period of heavy rainfall. The floods have caused significant delays and damage to the road and surrounding area, creating further disruption and danger to road users. Therefore, it is my proposal that to protect the health and well-being of current and future Wakefield residents near the area, reducing congestion, pollution, and flooding from vehicles must be a key priority of Wakefield Council. So my proposal will cover 7 points. Each will seek to address the issue from different angles in order to create incremental change in the coming years. To reduce congestion, pollution, and flooding on the road, I propose that number 1, prioritize the effort to make more efficient and reliable public transportation options available as soon as possible. So and number 2, because since there are substantial development in residential area and business park, we need to look at Dumbledore Road as a park and ride option. This park and ride option actually should be considered many years ago by the council, but unfortunately that has never taken off. Encouraging the number 3, encouraging safe, active travel such as walking and cycling by investing in active transport infrastructure, including additional bike lane and pedestrian crossings. So highlights the benefits of active travel for both reducing air pollution and improving public health. The council should continue to invest in this infrastructure project to promote lower emission travel and improve safety for pedestrian and cyclists. Number 4, install more electronic vehicle chargers in the area to contribute to an improvement in air quality. According to the latest air quality status report again, the council has already installed several electric vehicle chargers in the area, but more are needed to support the growing number of electric vehicle owners, including the resources for electric motors will not only create a smoother transition, but also contribute to a cleaner atmosphere. So number 4, work with West Yorkshire Combined Authority Transport and Highways team to secure funding
10 seconds, Councillor.
For a project to improve road safety and air quality throughout Dumbledore and Junction 39. The council should work with the West Yorkshire Combined Authority to secure funding for infrastructure projects that can improve road safety, and also working with West Yorkshire Low Emission Strategy. Yes, but I'm so sorry that because the issue is really important for us to debate properly. So I suppose that 5 minutes may not be quite enough. But you have seen the number 6, number 5 and the 7 as well. I'm hoping that the council will come together to make sure that we pass this motion today. Thank you.
Councillor Harvey. Right, Councillor Sanders, in second. Sorry, is the altered motion? Councillor Sanders.
Second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Right. Do you wish to make your comments now or later?
Speak now, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I rise to second the motion. Denbydale Road is a key road linking Wakefield and Huddersfield, running through our ward of Wakefield Rural, and it needs urgent attention. For the list of issues and reasons that are spelt out, including air pollution due to heavy congestion and increased risk of road traffic accidents. We seek council support today to shine a light on these issues and to stand up for our residents who are demanding action be taken. We are asking for more efficient and reliable public transport options to be made available by working with officers, the West Yorkshire Combined Authority, other relevant stakeholders to assist in reducing the number of cars on this road. To task officers with drawing up proposals to provide additional park and ride facilities other than buses. Could the possibility of a park and ride be of action using rail? I say this because there is a used rail line from Bartley to Wakefield running adjacent to Blacker Hall Farm. The old station and platforms have long since been removed, but there still remains room to install new platforms. To install more electric vehicles chargers in the area to assist in improving air quality. To work closely with the West Yorkshire Combined Authorities to secure capital funding for new road safety improvement schemes along Denbydale Road and Junction 39. To work with the Environment Agency for all other relevant stakeholders to draw up a policy to create a clean air zone in this area. These are necessary, sensible and much needed actions that I hope Council will approve today, that will be welcomed by local residents and users of this road, and will begin the process of addressing these long-standing concerns. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sanders. Councillor Hemingway has submitted an amendment to the motion. The amendment has been circulated to members prior to the meeting. Councillor Hemingway, would you please introduce your amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move this Labour Group amendment, which I feel brings greater rigour and a more holistic approach to what is an important issue. While clearly well-intentioned, the original motion felt somewhat inconsistent between specific local matter and wider policy considerations. The amendment therefore seeks to address these points by bringing greater emphasis on public transport and active travel, both key measures we know in battle to reduce emissions and improve air quality. As part of this, the amendment also has reference to the key requirements of government and how they can support this agenda, which was strangely absent in the speeches moving the original motion, and given the fact that government controls the purse strings for most of these issues. So, what can the government do to help with this agenda? Well, firstly, they can help by reversing the massive cuts to active travel funding that they've literally made in the last month, which are going to be extremely damaging to local authorities introducing new schemes for cycling, pedestrians and other forms of active travel, and it's going to cause £2 billion of damage to that agenda, unfortunately, in the long term, research suggests. Secondly, and probably more important for us in this chamber, they can actively fund combined authorities, and in particular the West Yorkshire Combined Authority, to deliver mass transit schemes. We know if we could get a mass transit scheme in West Yorkshire, touching perhaps a little bit on what you said there, Councillor Sanders, to provide rail or bus links or tram links, it would be a game changer for air quality, public transport, and get people out of the car and using other forms of transportation. I'm pleased local authorities appear to be supportive of climate and air quality issues, but clearly with the recent constructive travel funding and continued uncertainty around mass transit, the same does not go for the Conservative Party nationally, and actions and funding speak louder than words. Moving on, I've also made minor changes to the motion to reflect the fact that we're already working on electric vehicle charging points, with a number of locations installed even in this location in the last few years, and a comprehensive EV charging strategy was adopted at Cabinet level yesterday. A further addition by the amendment also reiterates our long-standing support for public ownership of public transport, which is so important in delivering good quality services. But another, and I feel, crucial aspect of this amendment He's also about seeking to protect this authority from the risks of making unfunded or unevidenced commitments, risks which I felt the original motion strongly presented. In particular, I've amended the reference to create a clean air zone on Denbydale Road so that we do not go down the route where cars unless it is necessary and supported by all the evidence. While such interventions are worthy in principle, they present many difficult practical issues and in my view need to be more fully justified. No reference was made either of what charging regime the position would seek to apply to residents using the road or what vehicles such a clean air zone would affect. That's why this amendment seeks to ensure we fully look at all options of intervention, and I could be in favour of less stick and more carrot when it comes to encouraging local people to change their behaviours. The amendment therefore gives us more tools in the armoury, still retains the core elements of the original motion, and prevents us from having that more narrow view which could risk the motion being unworkable and undeliverable. And those points being made, Mr. Mayor, and in order to enhance the motion, I move this amendment.
Thank you. Is the amendment seconded? Thank you, Councillor Molly. Do you wish to formally speak now, or reserve your right to speak until later in the debate?
Speak now, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, in seconding the motion, I do have to make the point that it seems quite strange that of all the routes into the city of Wakefield, we've only chosen Denbydale Road, where Councillor Ali represents a large chunk of it. We have many, many routes. We have Aberford Road, we have Black Lane, we have Doncaster Road, Barnsley Road, and then we've got our towns and cities around as well. As a council, Mr. Mayor, working with the West Yorkshire Combined Authority, we look at our district, we don't look in isolation. And when you look at the cuts that's been made to various funding, some of the money that we have got though, Mr. Mayor, the City Regional Sustainable Transport Settlement, we have allocated, or been allocated £1 million of that to look at bus priority routes into the city and our town centres. And one of them is Denbydale Road. We will be looking at that. Officers now are drawing plans, detailed plans of what that will look like, and we will be going out to consultation later in the year. So as a council, we are actively already working with West Yorkshire to see what we can do for bus lanes and active travel within the city and our towns. I emphasise, we look at the district, Mr. Mayor. We don't look at isolated incidents, isolated roads that suits the election periods. We look at this all the time around, and we put feasibilities forward that are sustainable, not just off the cuff remarks, Councillor Harvey. We will constantly look at park and ride schemes, but they have to work. You have to have the bus lanes in there to get the people from the park and rides into the city centre. We don't have that, we will have that once we start looking at these bus priority gates that we've got, Mr. Mayor. So we're looking all together, Mr. Mayor. So that's why I second this motion, that's why it answers the motion. Some of the points I do agree with what Councillor Harris was saying, but basically this is blatant electioneering. So I second the motion, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Molly. Does any member wish to speak on the amendments? Councillor Swift.
Yes, Chair. I've been strongly supporting the amendments and speaking in particular of the need, as spelled out by Councillor Hemingway, for democratic public control of public transport. But I did want to draw attention to the rail aspect of public transport, and it's ironic that this motion is dealing with Wakefield to Huddersfield, because although the motion says they'd like to see more buses, we are going to see more buses from the beginning of May between Wakefield, Huddersfield and Castleford. Unfortunately, they are replacing the train service. And we've got this absurd situation when we are trying to take cars off the road, that the current privatised and fragmented arrangements for rail have actually meant that we actually lose the Wakefield Huddersfield service. It's ironic because Northern had reduced it, alleging they haven't got rolling stock. A different operator at Transpennine said they'd actually like to run an enhanced service on the line. Then they said they couldn't. Then Northern said, well, we can't run our service anyway anymore because we've done something else with the trains and the crews. And just to make it a little bit more complicated, because there's an awful lot of fingers in this pie, Network Rail said, well, actually at the Huddersfield end, we've reorganised
to improve the stopping patterns for Dewsbury so they're not there anymore. What we need, it's in line with what we want for buses, is we do have to have integrated democratic control over our public transport services. Quite apart from any politics, what we have at the moment doesn't work, it's inefficient, it's wasteful. I support the amendment, Chair.
Thank you.
Speaking of the amendment, which I don't support, it's interesting, as Civic pointed out, they're all speaking about taking people from Wakefield to Huddersfield and then back again, I presume. Now we have a car park in Huddersfield called the A645. The train to get being designated is the option of the M1 62 A645. So I'm really, really pleased that we have done other things district-wide. I mean, we've had a battle at the moment with the LDF, which will continue but to be great to actually get in one go with more traffic lights, everything, and that's right the way from Nottingham, on the track, soon. I know if this meeting drags on much longer, as it is now, we're going to do it takes 20 minutes to go down and there. And then we're talking about Bushel from Wakefield to Huddersfield. We wish we could get into Wakefield nice and easy, and get into Ponty nice and easy, and God forbid, try to get to Nottingham. Not that I won't go to Nottingham, but God forbid, it's trying to get there. So I'm just pleased that all schemes will cover the district. When it comes in the tune wanting, we will certainly live the A645 from Featherstone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not too long ago, there was a headline in the Swiss paper because the train had been late for the first time in years. And I can tell you this, do you think the Swiss have got up with the debacle that Councillor Swift has just described to us? Because there wasn't, were there? And that tells you there's something wrong with it, and it doesn't work. And somebody needs to make it work, and unfortunately there's too many people filling their boots at whoever's expense to make it run like it does, which is a complete mess, to be honest.
Thank you, Councillor Farmer. Any other comments from the end? Councillor Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Supporting the comments that Kevin made on the comments on the Transport Committee, Scrutiny Committee of Combined Authority, and I sit in the governance. And obviously Tony's comments as well. You know, we mustn't forget how all this happened. It happened through privatisation, breaking up of the networks, the bus companies, etc., etc., etc. And that's how it all happened. And as Tony has just said, somewhere in the middle of it all, somebody must be making something out of it, but it certainly isn't the person who needs the public transport. And we've got to somehow, in the meantime, look to how and when and if the transport across the district can be improved at the same time as the bus service is being cut all across the district. And I have to say that it's not just out Demberdale Road to Huddersfield. We have an estate in Wakefield, in Westmore, called Luxett. And every day and every morning, that estate and the people that live in it are enforced within their area because the main Broadway Road is head to tail from Albury to the M1. The Dewsbury Road is head to tail from the M1 into Wakefield and vice versa every day. So it is not just one area that's got problems, and I support the motion put forward because the privatisation and break of the services means that we've got to get back, hopefully, we'll bring it back into public ownership and accountability and bring in proper transport plans. Proper transport plans that will show how the networks can work coordinatedly together. Because at the same time as this is happening, we all know, across the district, the amount of housing that's taking place under the local development framework plan, for instance, 5,000 was around Wakefield alone. And there is more development going on and more need for transport, public transport, to be able to provide for people who need to get to work and those who need their cars because they're not on a transport route, which is absolutely terrible, to be able to say, well, we know when the networks are going to work together. And on top of that, in support of the motion, you only have to go around here at 4:30 to see the traffic stood that's coming out from Newton Barn all the way around, down Westgate to hit up towards the M1 or down towards Durham. So the environmental impact is there for everybody, and we want to make sure in terms of clean air, clean zones, that a combined transport plan for both of the industries involved comes back into public ownership, and the sooner the better.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Blanford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I fully support the amendments, but perhaps I'm being a little bit cynical now, but I do think that the original is purely electioneering. Because I do know that the A642, which is leaves Harbour Bridge, goes up into Council Harbour's wall. And it has very similar problems in relation to heavy volumes of traffic, queuing traffic as they try to get over the bridge. But of course, the big difference there is that there's very few people live on that road. So, I know that my background isn't given as an example in the original proposal that says you couldn't kill two birds with one stone. But then again, as I say, that's what we see.
Thank you. Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We in the South East, we're not connected to problems and we do a lot of southern traffic, so I'm supporting Councillor Henway's amendment. And just outside my house, I'm still waiting for the leader of the opposition, Councillor Haynes, to start the traffic count on Huckworth Road.
Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm speaking in support of the amendment. I think it's important. I understand why it's being raised in the manner it has been, but it's all this has got to be across this. I mean, colleagues have talked about it. In my ward, which is essentially a big council estate, and then on the edge of Castleford, that's area. The interesting bit is the last month to 6 weeks, I've had more people contact me about, in desperation, about buses and about transport. We've got a few children who go from Airedale to Sixth Form College in Pontefract. But from April, if a youngster wants to go from Airedale to Pontefract, which is 2.5 miles, he's got to get a bus to Castleford, and he's got to get a bus from Castleford to centre of Pontefract, and then he's got to get back to the college. And that comes, that's from April. And then on the town estate, a bus has always run straight through the town estate down into Castleford. That's been cancelled. And a number of pensioners are absolutely devastated. They can't get off the estate, they can't go into Castleford, and they can't do that sort of thing. So, raising certain points, we're raising these all the time, but I think it's general public. And I agree with a lot of people who've spoken today. I think until we get the law back in public ownership, this is going to get worse. And finally, on traffic, when you're talking about airports and things like that, I agree with what's happening in Ferris. But at the end of the day, somebody wants to try and get down Cheapwalk Lane by the escape and through into Pontefract, because that's half an hour's ago. Is that for what, 300-400 yards sometime? So my view is I'm speaking and I fully support the amendment, but I think we should really be pushing for public ownership and we should keep going until we get it.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Tully.
Yeah, supporting the amendment, there's one brief comment to make, which is about the air quality. Air quality applies on Devondale Road, it applies in Featherstone, it applies in Normanton, it applies in Altos, because I have a major air quality problem in my ward and it's no everybody else's. I'm on 1,000 HGVs past my back door every day, 24 hours a day. You know, in the summertime I can't even sit out in my own garden. If I don't, I've got public transit till 25. I don't remember transits, but that's now life would be. It's very cold. But the point to make is now I get the we need to make sure that we look at this district-wide, because for every problem we have on Denby, I don't know the area that particularly well, but I do know that we have problems across these, and we need to look at it district-wide rather than just concentrating on one particular area, and that I would to check the motion, support the amendment.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Davis.
Yeah, it's, I could go on like the colleagues have done about air quality. We've got air quality problems in Nottingham as well. We've got public transport problems in Nottingham. And my views are well known about public transport. It should never have been privatised in the first place. There you go. I just want a point of clarification if I could. I support the amendments that Councillor Harvey did amend the original one and included point 7 about the flooding. So if we accept the Labour amendment, does it still include that point about the flooding? It does. Thank you.
We'll come to 2 seconds, okay. Right, anybody else? Okay. Right, Councillor Hemingway, as moved the amendments, do you wish to reply before we take the amendments to the vote?
Yeah, I will just clarify in relation to Councillor Gert's comment there. The altered motion came after I submitted my amendment, so I've only seen it this morning, but we accept the altered amendment. I think it's a complementary issue. I just want to thank all members around the chamber for their comments. I think it's clear that these issues don't just affect one road, and that's what we want to capture in this amendment. We want to make sure it's a district-wide approach, that there aren't inconsistencies by singling out one area over others. And I think as well, what's been really useful to is how crystal clear this chamber is in full support of public ownership of our public transport services to deliver better outcomes for our residents. So with that, Mr Mayor, I'll move the amendment and finish.
Okay.
Point of order, Chair. Mayor, I actually wanted to make a comment on the amendment, so why can't I do it?
Sadly, the rules are quite clear, you can't do that.
How can it not be? Because it's my motion that had been amended, and
No,
I have not.
we're now talking about the amendments to your original motion. So therefore we are debating that at this point in time. So therefore any comments are aimed at that particular amendment and nothing else.
In that case, I can comment on the amendment. I will be allowed to comment on amendment.
No, because obviously we've gone back to Councillor Hemingway has concluded through his right to reply.
Because I should have.
I'm sorry.
I'm not saying that we should have a chance to be amended.
Obviously these are the rules, Councillor Harvey. I'm sorry, they are the rules.
No, but I have.
No, sorry.
But why can't
No.
I comment on that amendment myself? Because
Well,
I
you
didn't
have.
accept the amendment or not
You
accept
didn't,
it because I shouldn't
but you
give a chance
didn't
to.
identify that you wanted to speak. So, sorry. Okay. No, Councillor Hemingway, sorry, Councillor Harvey. There was an opportunity to make comments during the time when it was open debate. No, and so therefore, this particular part, and I'm just finishing this now, this part of the debate is about the amendment. Now, there's going to be a vote taken on the amendment. Okay? And that's the procedure on the amendment. So, we will now take the amendment to the vote. To clarify this is to determine whether the amendment from Councillor Hemingway should become the new substantive motion. Please show all those in favour of the amendment. Please show those in favour, those against the amendment. Any abstentions? Okay, so the amendment has now become a substantive motion and we must now take the final vote on what is now that substantive motion. Please show all those in favour of the new substantive motion. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So that is carried. And that, colleagues, is the last item on the agenda of my partaking in council meetings in this format. Can I just remind you, please, there are still tickets available for the fashion show at King's Cross on the 6th of April. Thank you all very much. I declare the council meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen, council members, please be upstanding.